This is the Sherdog recap show, the Shillan and Duffy recap show. We're recapping UFC Vegas 37, UFC Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. We had 14 fights. We're going to cover all of them. We'll be taking any questions, comments, get the chat going. We'll try to talk with anybody who's watching live. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of Sherdog.com. He is the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. You know, it was, the card had its ups and downs. We talked on the preview earlier in the week on how, most of it was no great shakes on paper, but you and I are both kind of recency bias guys, and the card ended in pretty sizzling fashion, and because of that, I feel pretty good about the whole thing.
Yeah, fantastic. So we've done, I don't know how many shows we've done, but I've never asked you this. What does the P on your hat stand for?
Oh, Loaded Pistols. It's actually an L and a P. Oh. It's a fightwear company based here in Texas.
Oh, all right, fantastic. Hopefully that company's doing better than the Texas fighter did tonight in the main event. We'll get to that. But we got the chat open. Guys, we understand that we're going against Bellator. It is Bellator going on right now. So we appreciate anybody who is chatting with us or doing both. And I'm not bothering trying to watch it live. I don't want to mess it up. I don't care if I hear the results. I will watch it tomorrow. Ben, do you care if the people tell us the results?
No.
Okay.
Spoil away, guys.
All right,
If something interesting happens at Bellator, bounce in and let us know. Right off the bat, we got some friends in the chat. Austin Janola and Alan McDonald, two regulars, two friends of the show. Looks like Dev Goes Fishing is someone who came here at your request.
Oh, yeah. That guy messed me on he's a big fisherman, man. My daughter just started going fishing for like the first time. She got into fishing when we went camping, and she's like catching every fish. Like it's incredible. Like she got the best luck. Anyways, yeah, I talked to her on Instagram. Thanks for coming out, man. I hope you make it a regular thing. Adam Duffy's out here.
That's my son. Everyone be nice to him.
Oh, nice. So yeah, it would be nice. That's cool. That's cool. That's great that I've done this show with you so many times, and I don't even ask if you're related to a guy with the last name Duffy. Austin went 9-3 on the night. I didn't.
Yeah.
How
Austin,
did you do?
I went 7-6-1. You know, There was the one draw. So I went 7-6-1. I got your DM on Twitter where you invited me to the ESPN Pick'em League. Now you absolutely want me because you know I suck at picking fights. So yeah,
Austin did?
I'll get with you about. Yeah, Austin did.
Okay.
I'll get with you about that, but just know that I am in the tank of the Sherdog Pick'em League right now, and I'm happy to occupy that place in your league as well.
I'm not sure what I did. I think I had 8 wins. I think I went 8-4 and 1 no contest. I could be wrong. I could have been 7-5. I'm not really sure. Ben would have.
I run the league. I should be able to tell you pretty quickly here. You were 8-4-1.
Yeah, but the one I got wrong. One of the ones I got wrong was the main event. As
yeah, we both did.
We both picked Ryan Spann. It was looking good for 30 seconds, and then Anthony Smith did what Anthony Smith does. Anthony Smith is now on a 3-fight winning streak. Back-to-back wins. Oh no, it wasn't his last one. Wasn't the main event, but right, his last one. Was the one before that.
The last one, Smith versus Clark, was a main event. It was the one before that that wasn't.
No, I think it was the. There was somebody. Who am I thinking of? That's Crute. I think Crute was his last one. That wasn't the main event.
Yeah, that wasn't. Clark was the one before that. You're right.
Okay. Anyway, so he's on a 3-fight winning streak. He won by first round submission. To me, what stood out, and we'll get to the fun stuff, but what stood out to me was Ryan Spann was throwing a lot of looping shots, and he actually caught Anthony Smith very early with a looping shot, and what he should have done was he should have started tightening up, and I was thinking of my daughter's a very good softball pitcher, and when we started bringing her for pitching lessons, I used to think, they would work on her accuracy and then add speed. But the pitching coach we go to, they do the complete opposite. They say, we want to get her speed as high as we can. We don't care where the ball goes. Just get that fast arm motion going, and then we'll slowly bring her in. And I felt like that's what Ryan Spann needed to do. Like, even though he hit him with a looping shot, if he started closing it in tighter, he would have done much better. And that was, to me, was a difference. As Anthony Smith, he was landing that left hook, but everything was tight. Just a veteran performance from Anthony Smith. And anything else did you notice that stood out to you? I mean, it was a short fight, so there's not too much to notice. But
even when Spann was doing relatively well in the early going. It reminded me of his fight with Johnny Walker, where he gets into a wild fight. I mean, Smith tagged him so many times when just, he wasn't bringing his hands back. Even before the shots that really hurt him, just Smith had tagged him cleanly a bunch of times, and that's a problem. That's a problem that Spann has to address if he wants to break into the top 10.
Yeah.
Adam asked what we think
of his outburst after the fight. I didn't hear his outburst. Fucking ESPN muted his whole shit.
I think he might be. So I know one of them said that you have a little bit of echo going. I'm trying to turn the mics down, see if that helps a little bit. Did that help anything, guys? Just let us know. Obviously, when we do it live, it's just me and Ben doing it on our own. We don't have a producer in the background doing this. We don't have people talking in our ear. So just, bear with us. Hopefully, me just turning it down. Hopefully that helped. If not, we'll try to make it as good as it can. We appreciate the people talking in the chat. We try to keep up with as many comments as we can. There was actually the program I use has a new setting, so the comments are a little different than it's set up a little different. So we're still kind of learning that. They actually picks favorite comments, so it might not be. And it's probably just a setting I have where it's not giving me the order. So I apologize. I'm still kind of learning this new program. We had a lot of problems with the last program. So, anyways, back to Smith. Another thing I liked about Smith is he was going to the calf, but what I loved that he would leg kick the calf on one side and then throw an overhand on the other side. So I got you with a calf kick. You're expecting that, then I go completely high on the opposite side. That was something else I liked. So he'd throw a right leg kick and then boom, left hook on the other side, and that worked pretty good. Alan says it sounds like it's working good. It might have been just a glitch. So I'm glad that's working. Ryan Spann's a good wrestler. He's a good grappler, and Anthony Smith still subbed him. That was what even more than hurting Smith a couple times, and he had him on skates. Mm-hmm. Getting a submission over a guy like Ryan Spann, who both me and you talked about how underrated his grappling, that really impressed me.
Sensational, and that's twice in this 3-fight run now that he has really outclassed a bigger, stronger, good guy on the ground. We talked about it being an underrated part of Spann's game. Smith has a lot of submission. He's got some submission wins, but he's not a guy you think of as just a real classy grappler. But he absolutely is, and it's just another one of those. There's levels to this fight. You and I both picked Spann. I thought it was going to be kind of a changing of the guard. The 2 wins over Crute and Clark, they kept him in the rankings, but they didn't tell me enough about where Smith is right now, and I don't know if this one does. But I do know now that don't even come at this guy if you're not still one of the top 6 or 7 guys in the entire division.
Absolutely. One thing he talked about is the amount of fights he has. That experience alone, being in bad positions, not even when he got hurt early, not panicking. When Spann was behind him and picked him up, I didn't like that. I liked that he tried bringing him to his corner. He just wasn't in a position to have it done. It wasn't a Matt Hughes when he's wrapped around and you're lifting him up. You're actually, and every wrestler would say, if you've ever wrestled before and you start in what they call the referee's position where one guy's down, one guy's up, and you do what's called a stand-up, you get to that position where you're hand fighting, and a lot of time, and most people actually think that's an advantage for the guy who's on bottom to get an escape. It's not. It's a very easy position to break. I didn't like the Spann to that, and I actually thought he wasted an opportunity when he tried lifting him and wasted all that energy to get him to the corner and then not even finish the takedown. To me, I would have liked him if he finished the takedown.
That was it was a frustrating moment to watch.
Yeah. Arthur Antonio. I apologize. Gwyn.
Antonio and Gwyn.
I apologize.
Why did we pick Ryan Spann? You should have lost to Sam Alvey, and we all bad.
Yeah.
When you say it now, you can't judge this shit based on the results. Of course, I look like an idiot now.
Yeah. So I apologize if I said your last name wrong, but yeah, we're just idiots. We never say we're good at this. Let's just say it. We make our picks. We never claim the good picks, and we never said that we had logic behind our picks. So that was the thing. I was writing notes quick because when Ryan Spann almost got hurt and he almost got armbarred, I'm like, I had a second that I think he might come back, and I'm going to remember when he almost got armbarred, he showed composure. There was moments he got hurt too much and couldn't recover, and then when he hit the ground. Anthony Smith is really underrated top side grappler. I actually think he's a weak bottom side grappler trying to get up and stuff, but top side he's a submission threat. And this is what Anthony Smith does.
He's got the Frank Mir thing from his back, where like he'll try stuff, but he's not urgent enough to get up until people just end up punching his lights out down there.
Yeah, he has that jiu-jitsu game that I hate. It's one of these things. What I've said this in the past, and it's going to sound really weird, but sometimes you can be so good at jiu-jitsu that it actually hurts you, that you stop playing jiu-jitsu. Sure. And if you weren't as good a submission artist, you'd actually try to get up off the bottom. You'd know that was a weakness, and that you're losing from there. But sometimes when you're really good at the bottom, you submit guys in the gym. You stop playing that game. But obviously, it worked out for Smith. He had a sensational performance. One of the questions asked is, what do we think about his reaction afterward? I loved it, and I'll tell you why. I love the drama stuff. Not everybody can talk shit. Not everybody can, and I don't want it. I don't want fakeness. But I want characters. Like, not every... You think about, like, WF. Not everyone has a Ric Flair personality. Not everyone has the Undertaker personality. Not everyone has Triple H, whatever. They all have different types, but they all stand out for a reason. I like angry, I'm disrespected, everyone looks past me, Anthony Smith.
And it was absolutely genuine, because he's normally such a genial and calm guy. Not just on the mic, but, like, actually in the cage after his fights. Like, win or lose... he's generally a gracious guy. So it just felt really real. And the kind of 40-second turnaround to where they're just kind of like reluctantly the adrenaline drains away and they have the little reconciliation, that felt real as well. Because as much as I hate fake beef, I hate fake niceness even worse.
Yeah.
Like if we could tell you two guys hate each other, then don't, be like, I know he's a tough guy, I know he's a warrior, all this shit. Just speak your piece.
Yeah.
So I liked it. And then, whatever Smith said on the actual mic in the interview afterwards, that whole thing got bleeped out.
Yeah, can we just put this to the side? I understand it's ESPN stuff, but you did a warning before the show saying, "Hey, you're about to watch violence." Can we just throw in a warning like you might hear swearing? Is there anybody who's watching a UFC event and go, "I just watched 7 hours of guys beating the piss out of each other, jumping in my chair when someone gets knocked out unconscious. I saw Devin Clark losing his teeth, but I can't hear the F word." You know what I mean?
It feels a little bit like pearl clutching to be concerned about the F word, like when you're watching people like beat the shit out of each other. I completely agree.
Yeah, like we've gotten past the human cockfighting part, but it's still like.
But now we
MMA's not
can't
for
say
everybody.
cock. Like, have we really progressed?
Yeah. MMA's not for everybody. Like there is times I've watched MMA and someone gets knocked out very like brutally, or even like tonight when Devin Clark might be losing his teeth, and I'm like, why do I like this sport again? Like, what the hell's the matter with me? Like, but I to me, angry, I'm disrespected, even if it's a fake, even if it's not fake in the fact that he doesn't think it. I mean, fake in that he musters up something in him. Like, I've seen documentaries where Michael Jordan like made up something that a guy said just to motivate him.
Yes. And
you always hear Bill Belichick doing this stuff. Like, if he has to do that, oh, this guy disrespect me, and then it reminded me of, remember when I can't remember who he was against, but the guy said, I don't even know who he is, and it was deep into the fight, and this one his like rise up the rankings when he first came to the UFC, and he's like, do you remember, my name now, when they were going into the third round, and it became like do you remember who was that against?
I don't.
It was definitely a Brazilian fighter. I don't remember either. I know someone in the chat would tell us who that was. But that moment, and we saw it for like the longest time, that Anthony Smith yelling across to his opponent, going into the third round of a big fight. I like that, and that's the angle I think he should continue to work.
Hector Lombard.
So,
A Cuban.
So,
Cuban.
all right, yeah, there you go. There's me being stereotyping and saying darker skinned guy must be Brazilian. Yeah. But that was a great moment.
His accent is wild. It is kind of hard to tell like where he's actually from.
And if he didn't even have that moment, would he have risen up the rankings? Would he have got the push that he would have had as much? And that was so genuine. That was him thinking, "Oh, you're gonna kill me. Now we're in the third round. You know me now." Like, I love that, and I just want him to keep doing this.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. What do we do next with him? He called out Alexander Rakic. I hate that, Matt. I mean, we just saw it.
And the chat's been going back and forth about it.
Okay.
There are two.
I can't keep up. I'm sorry, guys. I can't keep up tonight.
I mean, The first fight wasn't that exciting. It wasn't that long ago. I don't know how much more we learn about either guy. And also, I mean, like Rakic's last couple fights haven't been that exciting, but in terms of just strict merit, he could even just kind of sit behind Prochazka and maybe get a title shot. You know, Adam Duffy throws out Rakic versus Prochazka. I think Prochazka is probably going to get the next title shot without having to do anything else.
Yeah.
I think he's in.
One thing we always like to say is the phone call. You have your list. You know, Glover Teixeira was the one that got the first phone call. But if Glover Teixeira gets hurt and they need someone to fill in to fight for the title, Prochazka is getting the phone call.
Yeah, he's getting
unless, of course, don't forget one thing we always talk about this, the Money in the Bank guy. There's always John Jones with the Money in the Bank, though I don't think he's coming back, and that's definitely not on short notice.
At light heavyweight, no.
Yeah, at the end of the month, or end of next month.
I mean, now that they're talking at each other, I mean, they probably are going to make the Rakic fight, but I think there are a lot more interesting next matchups for Smith, and ones that we'd learn more about him. I mean, if you really want to rematch him with somebody, Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos are fighting in 2 weeks. Give him the winner of that.
Yep, that's the exact fight.
I know he's already fought Santos, but it was a long time ago. It was in a different weight class. And if it's him and Walker, that fight is bananas. If you think Smith needs more of a step up than that, a few weeks after that, Magomed Ankalaev and Volkan Oezdemir are fighting. If Ankalaev wins that one, Ankalaev versus Smith, that's Smith's chance to prove, okay, I'm still a top 5 guy. I should still be in the title picture.
Yeah, I agree with both those. I like those both matchups just because I don't want to see something I just saw. And honestly, if I'm Rakic, why am I taking that? Like, I just beat you. Recently. It wasn't I beat you 3 years ago.
I beat you easily, and still somehow people were criticizing me afterwards. Like, why would he even want that again?
Yeah. Adam Duffy's throwing out there that he still thinks that Rakic Prochazka for the number 1 contender. That very could well happen.
Yeah.
If they, what about? Well, let's ask you about Spann. Do you look at Spann as a upper level light heavyweight, or was it proven tonight that he's not?
I got love for my Texas guys. I got love for Fortis MMA. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
He still feels more like a prospect than a contender to me. He's a guy with enormous amounts of upside who still has some big holes in his game.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I mean, his 2 losses in the UFC now, and I know that the loss to Johnny Walker was controversial, and even if it weren't controversial, it had been a wild fight, and Johnny Walker's going to do that to about every third guy he fights. He's just going to starch him in the first round with something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just Spann's card was up. But it's 2 times that he's gotten into kind of a wild fight and been defensively porous to his own detriment. You know?
Yeah.
He was just way too hittable on the feet. Everybody in that top 8 or 10 in the UFC light heavyweight division will mark him up.
Yeah. A lot of guys are throwing out that Ankalaev is so good. I don't want to see Smith get beat up by Ankalaev. Yeah, we're not saying Smith wins that fight. We're just saying, like, he's deserves it. He's earned it.
And honestly, Ankalaev deserves it.
Yeah.
Ankalaev deserves to fight like top guys at this point. And I mean, they made a big deal leading into this fight about how Smith is like, he told Mark Montoya, apparently, I'm not here to just pick up a few more checks and have fun fights. If I'm not trying to get back, to a shot at the title, then I'm not doing anything here. Well, he's going to need to beat the Ankalaevs of the world if he wants to do that. Yeah,
so just I would do the Johnny Walker versus Thiago Santos. I like the Ankalaev fight. There's a lot of options. Let me ask you this before we move on to Spann. I know we kind of we talked about it, but we're sidestepping back to Smith. Do you believe in this run? Do you Anthony Smith made it all the way run to the title.
Yep.
And a couple fights ago, we were ready to write him off. He was done. I think I picked against him all 3 fights. I don't know. Actually, I think I picked him over Devin Clark, but
I picked him over Clark.
Yeah, I think I did too.
I know I picked him over Clark. I can't remember whether I picked him over Crute.
I think I picked
Spann in this fight.
Yep.
And I was wrong. Like I don't mind being wrong about fights as long as I learn something. And I'm still learning things about Anthony Smith. It was interesting. Austin in the chat said after the losses to Glover and Rakic, he thinks Smith has grown as a fighter and kind of leveled up. Think of how remarkable it is to say that about a guy with 50 fights. How many people get better and like actually make adjustments in their game after 50 fights. Like that's completely remarkable if that's the case, and it's starting to look more and more like it is the case.
Yeah, one thing that I find so fascinating about Anthony Smith is this is a guy that came in the UFC and he was just going to be a card filler guy. And what I mean by that is just a guy that you have a middleweight matchup. We need somebody. Oh, there's this local guy with a pretty good, good record. Let's put him on it. Like that's all he was going to be. And he looked like a journeyman who somehow went up a weight class, became an upper echelon guy that he went all the way to a title shot. Technically could have won the title on an illegal knee by John Jones, and beat John Jones. But that to me was remarkable. Imagine if he runs it back up to a title shot again. Like that makes it even more. Like do it a second time. And honestly, there's no one head and shoulders above anybody. It's not like it was in John Jones' time. Like nobody's like, oh, this guy's. You go right now. You look at middleweight, and it's pretty consensus. Like Israel Adesanya is way better than everybody. You do it with welterweight. It feels the same way with Usman, and obviously the women divisions and stuff. Light heavyweight's not one of them. Like light heavyweight, yeah. We probably should put some respect on Jan Blachowicz' name. Like I still feel like we don't give him respect. But
if Blachowicz gets past Teixeira and he does fight Yuri Prochazka next, he's probably going to be an underdog.
Yeah. But my point is the division's wide open.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Even the champ, that's the just. I mean, we've talked about what an all-timer of an underdog run Blachowicz has had. He'll probably be an underdog. Like I think he'll be favored over Teixeira, but if he beats Teixeira and fights Prochazka, he'll probably be an underdog to Prochazka.
Yeah. So I going back, I like the Anthony Smith bad guy. Not bad guy, the disrespect thing. I actually think it's something Derek Brunson should do, as he's always the underdog too. Real quick with Spann, you see me looking at him as a prospect. I think he's shown that he's not close to this level yet. Could he be? It's light heavyweight, obviously not the deepest division. But to me, he's got to take a step down. A lot of people, the matchup I came up with, a lot of people might not think of this as a step down, but I still don't believe in this guy, even though he keeps winning. I would match him up with Paul Craig.
I like that as a fight. That's for one thing. If Spann's usual problems are still there, Craig will take him out behind the woodshed.
Yeah.
But it's a guy that, hey, if he keeps his chin tucked, if he keeps his punches tight, and he doesn't just fall into a triangle with 10 seconds left, like that's a very winnable fight for Spann. I love that one. I'd also be fine with just someone that's kind of hanging around, like the Alonzo Menafield type,
Yeah.
If he hadn't already fought Devin Clark, who just lost tonight, that would have been fine. But yeah, like just somebody not quite in the top 15, but in that echelon just beneath it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's where he is right now.
Your son is saying Paul Craig versus Anthony Smith. I'm not saying it's Smith. I'm saying against Ryan Spann.
Against Ryan Spann. Like
Mary Chang.
Smith is way past the.
Yeah, Mary Chang threw out that he has 52 professional fights by age 33. His durability is remarkable. It really is. Like, and I keep
that throwback Midwest guy.
Yeah, I keep predicting that it's going to catch up to him, and it's not. But that was the main event. Let's move on to another light heavyweight matchup, the co-main event: Ian Cutelaba versus Devin Clark. I had fun in this fight. It wasn't as wild as I expected, but still pretty damn fun.
It was fun for everybody except for Clark and presumably his dad, who was in his corner.
Yeah. But you know who was? I almost put this on my risers on our Bulls list is Devin Clark's dentist, because that guy's about to get paid.
Oh, yeah, that dude's going to...
Ian Cutelaba won a unanimous decision. It was an absolute beatdown. I think I scored at 30-26. Some things that really stood out to me, obviously the power of Cutelaba. He was more, even though he was very aggressive, he was more... more controlled than usual, and I like that he used a lot of offensive wrestling against a good wrestler.
He looked great. I did not expect him to have the advantage in the wrestling. I mean, you and I both picked Cutelaba in this one, I believe. Mm-hmm. But if he lost, it was going to be by beating the brakes off of Devin Clark in the first round and then just having all of his wheels fall off. And so even after the 10-8 first round, I was like, I'm not comfortable with the Cutelaba pick yet. But he never got tired. He never really left off of his wrestling until kind of the second half of the very last round. Smart fighting Kudalaba is a scary man.
Yeah, I agree. Because his ground and pound is really scary.
There you go. Like, his ground and pound is brutal, but we don't always get the chance to see it because he's never the guy that chooses to take the fight to the ground usually. He just wants to slug it out on the feet, and he can win fights there, but he can also lose fights very easily.
Yeah. So we both picked Kudalaba, but if you told me that there was one fighter that got, I don't know how many takedowns there was, 5, 6 takedowns, I would have guessed that was Devin Clark. Instead, It was Ian Cutelaba. You mentioned it real quickly. Alan McDonald also stressed it. Was like he went 3 rounds and he didn't gas out. That's another thing that's really like this is a young, he's a young guy who came to UFC. He's fighting a little different. Like I'm feeling a lot better about Ian Cutelaba. I mean, it's Devin Clark, but the way that he moved to mount so easily, like I like that.
Yeah. Good offensive wrestling, and the Cain Velasquez type, and I'm not saying he's Cain Velasquez, but just the thing where you get the takedown and just kind of smoothly like land and mount or side control.
Yeah.
Because instead of trying to get the world's biggest slam, you're already thinking about the next sequence. Like, if that's, I want to see it at least once more before I sign off on this, but if this is young Kudalaba going forward, that's a scary dude, and it's another guy that I'd kind of written him off as, well, he's going to pick up a few bonuses. He's going to do some like weird shit that I have to write news pieces about. But, he's probably not going to be a top 10 guy, let alone a title contender. Now, got to kind of rethink that.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that stood out to me is his strikes inside. When he was inside, he was landing some nice clean elbows in the clinch and stuff. Very impressive. Throwing some knees, defending takedowns and landing some knees. And I agree with you. Like, I thought, Cutelaba had potential, and he kind of didn't pan out. And he was always going to be the guy who painted himself like the Hulk and kind of has the physique to match it, too. Like, not everyone could do that. The 135-pounders can't. Dominic Cruz can't paint himself like the Hulk. Doesn't have the same effect. But I hope I wish he would continue to do that. Like, I know a lot of people think it's corny. Like, it makes him stand out. I like guys who stand out. How about Cutelaba versus? I didn't ask you to come up with somebody, but what about Spann? Spann and Cutelaba.
He was actually on my little list of notes.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't bother me if Spann took more of a step down than that.
Okay, fair enough.
Just because Spann looked like so questionable and Cutelaba looked so good, but I'm not mad if they make that fight. Not at all.
RC Kim had an issue with the 29-27 scorecard. I'm assuming.
Dude,
I'm assuming
if you didn't give young Cutelaba at least one 10-8 round in that fight, like.
Well, I think it was a 10-8 round, and they gave Clark a round. No, they gave Clark a round. No, it was 29-27 for Cutelaba.
29-27 Cutelaba, so they gave him one 10-8 round and then gave Clark the last round.
Yeah, and Clark was very aggressive in the third round. To me, it was not enough. I thought Cutelaba still won the third round. So if Kim is, I'm assuming RC Kim is complaining about the scorecard. I'm with you. Like I didn't like it either. I had it. I think I scored it 30-26. I don't remember, but check out MMA decisions. Yeah. Bruce Baume should throw out Devin Smith's. I don't know. Devin Clark, I think he means teeth.
Yeah, Devin Clark's teeth looking real. You get him confused because Smith got his teeth fucked up just a couple fights ago, and now Clark too.
Yeah.
Man, I wonder if Anthony Smith was just like watching that from backstage and just getting triggered. I can't do this.
And Cutelaba seems like the guy who's not going to feel bad that he busted up some guy's teeth either. Like he's excited. He's bragging about it.
Well,
like,
he's going to act gracious about it, but then like he's going to just really be feeling himself on the flight home.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of feeling herself on the flight home, Ariana Lipsky versus Mandy Baume was a main card fight. I still don't think it deserved to be on the main card. It was really weird that a girl that was fighting for a job versus a UFC newcomer. But I think they were kind of like trying to stress the record of Baume. She was undefeated. This was the Ariana Lipsky that we expected to get. So my question, I thought it was the best performance of the UFC career. We saw
She outvolumed her. She showed power. She dropped her 3 times. She won the grappling exchanges. Even the eras where she's not a strong grappler, which I always say is on the bottom, she's getting taken down, and as she's getting taken down, she hip pikes over to win the position. She looked really good. My question to you, Ben, is this the Ariana Lipsky that we should expect, and that's what we wanted, or is this because she fought Mandy Baume?
Okay, I want to talk about the best performance of Ariana Lipsky's UFC run by far. I want to talk about like all the promise, but I've got to get out just all my kind of complaints and kind of rain on the parade a little bit here. If like even coming into this fight, knowing what Ariana Lipsky's strengths and flaws are, if you wanted to make Ariana Lipsky look as good as possible, then put someone in the cage with her that's going to throw 1 strike at a time.
Yeah.
And is never going to really press the issue. Is going to let Lipsky dictate pace, and is going to make sure that Lipsky ends up on top every time it hits the floor. Because you and I talked on the preview, the difference between top position Lipsky and bottom position Lipsky is glaring. She's like a sneaky good offensive grappler, a vicious ground and pounder, but when she's on her back, I mean, I'm not saying she's Greg Hardy, but she's definitely fish out of water, whereas Hardy on his back is a turtle. You know, he's not getting up, he's not getting over. I mean, I picked Baume in this one, and even you who picked Lipsky, you were like, it's not with a whole lot of confidence. No. But when Baume came out and was just, she never pulled the trigger. So if you throw 1 strike at a time at Lipsky and she's coming back with combinations, like that's perfect for her. Like she made Lipsky look like Valentina Shevchenko. Just fantastic performance by Lipsky. If you look at her career now in the UFC, she's 3-4 in the UFC, and the 4 losses are to pretty good fighters, but not in every case like a serious contender. And the wins are over 2 of the lowest level flyweights in the UFC, and then Baume, which I mean we don't know where she goes from here.
3 of the lowest ones.
Well, I mean,
probably
Baume might go on and win her next 3. Maybe this was just octagon jitters, but
it was a terrible.
It'll remain to be seen.
It was a really bad performance from her.
It was terrible.
Yeah, and when I said I don't know why, I was why Ariana Lipsky versus Mandy Baume was on the main card. I was obviously referring to like rankings wise, and they're all saying I know why. I'll say it because Ariana Lipsky is smoking hot. I've said this. I think she's the most attractive woman on the roster.
And I mean, yes, obviously she's a very attractive woman, but she didn't come into the UFC with the amount of hype she had just because of that. Because I mean,
she was good.
We get girls in the UFC that have like more Instagram followers than Khabib Nurmagomedov all the time, but they don't normally come in with like title level expectations. Like Lipsky looked like a world beater in KSW as well, and this was one of the first times she delivered that kind of performance in the UFC. Like she actually looked like someone who deserved her nickname.
Yeah. Do you think a performance like this could catapult her into maybe more confidence, fighting different, realizing this is the way she needs to fight, more aggressive, more volume, initiating takedowns,
and
like
more camps at ATT? I think that's doing a world of good for her to be. I mean, American Top Team isn't for everybody, but at this point, American Top Team is so huge that it's literally just like 3 camps in the same building. Like you can tell, kind of which ATT someone belongs to by who's cornering them. Like is it Mike Brown? Is it Conan Silveira? Is it Pahum Pina? They got hundreds of fighters. They got hundreds of pros. Like it's ridiculous how big that place is. Whatever combination of coaching and sparring partners she's found there they've tightened up her fundamentals. And I don't think that it's they're teaching her anything new. She's been doing Muay Thai since she was a teenager. I think it's probably just being reminded, getting appropriate sparring partners. But she's looking much better.
Shout out to Bruce Bob Trotter, who is the best troll we've had in here. I think his best troll ever was him pretending that he thinks I have a shot with Ariana Lipsky. I appreciate you thinking that I would even have a chance. He said she might not have a husband. That is true. She might not have a husband, but you know who does have a husband?
My wife. My wife has a husband, as in me. Not that would matter because I wouldn't have a shot anyways. But I appreciate it, Bruce, that you think somewhat highly that I'd have a shot. Speaking of highly, a guy that both of us have been extremely high on, Armin Cerukian versus Christos Thiago. Cerukian was the highest favorite on the card. We both thought he was going to roll, and he did. And I wrote in big bold letters, this kid is special. And I know I live in the moment. I know it's Christos Thiago. It's the best division in MMA, or at least one of the best divisions in MMA. I'm looking at the UFC ranking. Not even Sherdog. Make sure to check out the Sherdog rankings. We also include people outside of the UFC, but I'm looking at the UFC rankings, and it's like murder's row. It is. It goes back why a couple weeks ago when people were calling Paddy Pimblett a top 15 level guy, and I'm like, have you looked at the UFC top 15? But anyways, back onto the topic of Armin Cerukian. Am I living in the moment? Am I overreacting? Am I saying this kid's that special?
No, I don't think you're overreacting or living in the moment. I think on talent and skill, he's already a top 10 guy, even if not on accomplishment. Like, I'm not saying that he should be, well, I mean, the UFC might put him in their top 10, but like a worldwide top 10 that actually tries to be objective, maybe not, but he certainly looks like one, and he's making incremental improvements. Like, you wrote this guy is the real deal. My notes, I just wrote down not a finisher at the UFC level just so I could cross it out and, kind of like check that
Yeah,
off.
like he had a hit list of things he had to cover.
Yeah, like, because we talked about, he came into this on a 3-fight winning streak over, frankly, better guys than Christos Thiago. Like,
we talked about it. We're like, he's going the wrong direction of his competition.
I without looking, he might have won every round of those 3 fights, but, you're like, at lightweight in particular, you want someone with a little bit of finishing instinct, a little of that killer instinct, because even if you're winning decisions, if it goes 15 rounds, you're giving some of the most dynamic fighters in the sport just that much more time to land something on you. Here, he never let Giagos into this.
Yeah, so
devastating.
A couple things why I say this guy's special now, and just for the record, he's ranked 14th in the UFC rankings right now. So they obviously think highly of. I'm not saying beating Christos Thiago, he deserves to be ranked higher. I get how rankings work. I get like. You don't rank on potential. You don't rank on how. I think this guy could beat this guy. I think he could beat Tony Ferguson, but obviously Tony Ferguson has accomplished more. I rank Tony Ferguson. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But why I think this kid's special. This guy came into the UFC known for his wrestling. Took on Islam Makhachev. Gave Islam Makhachev his toughest fight in a really long time, and I think he took that on very short notice in his UFC debut. And the other thing is, so this guy's known for his wrestling. Now we see him knocking out guys. And my last thing is, this kid's only 24. Like, he's not even close to his prime yet. He's 24.
He's 24. Like, he's not even at his physical prime. Like, he'll probably be stronger and faster in a couple more years, and he'll probably keep getting stronger for a few more years after that. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, Austin. I don't know if his name is Janolo. He said
Janola. Yeah.
Janola. I apologize, guys. I apologize if I say anybody's name wrong. I don't mean to disrespect anybody. He's saying he's. I don't know if this is a prediction, but he's saying Islam versus Armin Cerukian a rematch, but for the title.
If they fight in 3 or 4 years, that's going to be a trilogy fight.
Yeah, he's saying that
he might fight Islam Makhachev next.
Yeah, he's saying that their rematch could be for a title, and he says it's a bold statement, but I think he might be right.
No, I could see them fighting for a title 3 or 4 years from now, but I'm saying if they fight in 3 or 4 years, that's going to be a trilogy fight because they're going to fight sooner than that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He wants it back. Makhachev and RDA are fighting at the end of next month. I would love to see him get the winner of that fight.
Yeah, the other fight that he called for a fight with Dan Hooker. I know Hooker.
Okay, first he called for a fight with Hooker, and then he offered to replace Hooker if Hooker can't get into
there's
the
a
US.
situation, and some of it might have been a little bit of a English second language kind of thing, and also he's got a very thick accent. So it was at first I said, "Who did he say?" And then I started looking at the UFC rankings. And I go, "Oh, Hooker, that's what he said." If Hooker in a Hawkcross does happen, I like the winner of that matchup. I
like the winner of that matchup for sure. Or, Yeah, like the winner of Hooker and Haqparast, absolutely. I wouldn't want him to just step in for Hooker against Haqparast. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Haqparast isn't a step up. I mean, if he beats Hooker, it's an appropriate matchup. But yeah, I'm fine with that. Or again, Makhachev RDA winner.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh yeah.
He either gets to erase his one UFC loss, or again, Rafael dos Anjos, having been a champ in one division and a contender in two, is the kind of name that you can start building a resume for a title shot off of.
Bass showed up because he wants to talk about Maurice Green. We obviously, Mike Rodriguez, and he's calling Maurice Green. We did save the Mike Rodriguez talk for Bass. I was going to do what I want to do. I wanted to do what we've done with other fighters in the past and start doing the ladder where you go up and right now, who would you pick them against? And start going rank guys and stop when you pick someone. We got 14 fights, so I'm not going to do that. But one thing, as I was writing down the names for that, the thing just stood out to me is I didn't notice how much of a change we have at lightweight of newer faces in the rankings. I mean, obviously Michael Chandler because of the coming from Bellator, but also Islam Makhachev is a fresher face. Gregor Gillespie, which Austin threw out as a matchup. Like, I'm with you. Sorry, not Austin. I apologize. Alan McDonald threw it out as a matchup. You can't go wrong making matchups in the top 15 at lightweight. Yep. Brad Riddell, Rafael Fiziev, obviously Armin Cerukian. Like, it's always been the best division, but it's also nice that there's new guys. Now, you still have your Tony Ferguson's, your RDAs, but those guys are on their way out, and these guys are taking their spots. And I don't think the division's going to lose any prestige. I think these guys will start making that jump into stardom, like a Beneil Dariush has done recently.
Yeah. Speaking of guys that I'd love to see against someone like Cerukian, but I think they're going to let Dariush kind of see if he can make his way to a title shot.
Yeah, he's right there.
Off any more younger guys.
I mean, Gaethje and Chandler is already booked, and that's an incredible dream matchup. If something happened to Poirier or Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush might be the first phone call.
And what a story that would be. I mean, a guy who just kind of quietly came out of nowhere to become a title challenger.
Anyways, back to the topic. We're both in on Armin Cerukian. It seemed like everybody in the chat is in Armin. A lot of people are saying Bass is saying he's on the Dariush champ. A lot of guys throw out who they think is the best. The whole point is, I'm not saying, neither me and Ben are saying who we think is the best, who's the dark horse, who'll be the champion from years from now. But I think we're both saying, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Armin Cerukian. What I was surprised is the outcome of Tony Gravely versus Nate Maness. Not that Nate Maness won, but it is 2 fights in a row now where Nate Maness got absolutely blasted, had to survive, was almost knocked out. Even closer this fight than his last fight against Becky Lynch's ex-boyfriend. Tony Gravely had him on his ass and basically Saved by the Bell. And then he still found a way. I mean, when he K'd up, he seemed like he was rocked. His corner was talking to him. He was shaking his head like he was hurt. And he admitted it. A lot of guys will blow it off, like Patty Pimblett blew it off, like, oh, I wasn't hurt, this and that. Nate Maness admitted like he was hurt. Like, the first time I was dropped, I was hurt. And then he lands like the same exact punch that Tony Gravely put him on with. They both threw a punch, and he landed it, and he put Tony Gravely out. I'm kind of liking this. Like, it has a come from behind, out of nowhere, like, storyline going on with Nate Maness. It's kind of fun.
It's a lot of fun. I did not have this level of expectations of Nate Maness when he came to the UFC. I figured, I figured he'd stick around and probably give us some exciting fights. But no, I wasn't expecting this, and I'm absolutely here for it. I mean, what's that make Maness now? 3-0. I mean, he's 3-0 in the UFC. Mm-hmm. Boss asked if he has to be nearing the top 15. Dude, this is one of the hardest divisions to get into the top 15. And one of his 3 fights, the Luke Sanders fight, was actually at a catch weight. At least as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't carry as much weight.
I couldn't think of Luke Sanders' name. That's why I said Becky Lynch's boyfriend. He just retired, so you won't have to think of it again.
Yeah.
So you tell me he's
Dude.
gonna come out and box? No, maybe WF is gonna use him. There'd be some storyline where he comes in and saves Becky Lynch and like ignites the romance once again.
There are two little things that I noticed in this fight that I wanted to sound off on. One, not only did Manus catch Gravely with the same thing that Gravely caught him with, but Gravely was trying to throw the same thing. It was the same kind of southpaw right hook, and it actually landed first, but it just kind of glanced, and then Manus wiped him out. But also, how much do I love accurate, deliberate, meaningful ground and pound? Like, so much ground and pound is just jump, flail, and just hope the referee jumps in. But yeah, Manus was saved by the bell in the first round. But you know what? From the time Manus hit Gravely in the second to when he finished it was about the same amount of time. Like, but his ground and pound was just so much more accurate and purposeful. Like, he just almost took a breath. And I mean, this is just a guy that he's got a few fights under his belt. Didn't panic and just put him away with the minimum number of punches necessary in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah, that's one thing that stood out to me too. That's actually what I wrote down. I said the difference between why Manus stopped Gravely. Obviously, he had more time too, but why he stopped Gravely, vice versa. When Gravely knocked Manus, he was missing the follow-up punches. Manus did not miss the follow-up punches. He landed them clean. And if Gravely didn't rush in and actually took his time and he probably and landed the follow-up shots, Manus probably doesn't get out of the first round. I think it's playing with fire though. When a guy gets hurt, multiple fights, he backs up to the cage, doesn't give himself a chance to avoid shots, which I absolutely hate. I'm not on the Manus train yet. Like, I'm still but
absolutely. I mean, just the fact that he came really close to losing this fight, and while you and I are both high on Gravely, and I remain high on Gravely, I still think
he looked good.
I still think he has a high ceiling, but I mean, Manus almost lost to him, almost only counts, I guess, in horseshoes and hand grenades, but it wasn't, it's the kind of win that makes me excited for his next fight, but it didn't really change what I see as his trajectory in the UFC. Not yet.
And kicking off the main card, we talk about a guy who has knockouts. Joaquin Buckley did what Joaquin Buckley does. He knocked out Antonio Arroyo. I don't know if he was winning or if he was losing. It was a fairly close fight at that point. Arroyo wasn't throwing much, but it was in the range that he wanted. But this is what Buckley can do. Like, you could be losing, and I think he might have won the first round. I don't know, but you could be losing the whole time and land a glancing shot and put you out. Like, that's the kind of power this guy has.
And yeah, that's exactly it. I actually gave Antonio Arroyo the first and second rounds, but they were both super close, so I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be mad at anybody's scorecard going into that third round, but it certainly didn't feel like Buckley had a ton of momentum or anything. Boz thinks Buckley was up 2-0, and I'm okay with that. I'm not mad at that, but you're right. Buckley just comes out of nowhere, and he shocks his opponents with it only ever takes one strike.
Wow.
And
I glance over at the Bellator results, and Ben Parrish knocked out Christian Edwards. Shout out to his manager, who tweeted today saying what his odds were, that he was a negative 800 favorite, and he said, go bet on him, you'll win. Bet $100 on him, you're going to win $800. And he won by first round knockout. So good call.
Huge upset.
Good call in 38 seconds. There's 3 fights still left in that. I was trying to see how far we were in the Bellator, and if anybody wants to talk about what's going on in Bellator, we're cool. That was the main card. Let's move on to the prelims. We still have, I think, 8 more fights to go. Tafon Nchukwu beat Mike Rodriguez. So the reason why now, I know some people are saying Buckley was winning. Some people are saying Antonio Arroyo was winning. The reason why Antonio Arroyo could have been winning was he knows how to keep range. And the reason why I'm bringing that up when we're talking about Nchukwu versus Mike Rodriguez has no idea how to keep range. None at all. Nchukwu was getting inside on him with ease.
Effortlessly. Yeah, effortlessly.
Yeah, that's a good word. Effortlessly. It was 15 minutes of him getting inside the pocket and landing power shots. And credit to Mike Rodriguez, who's not known for his chin. He did have a chin tonight. but he was getting cracked. In whether it be in that pocket or if they got all the way to the clinch, and I just kept like screaming, even though I picked Nchukwu to win. I was like screaming at my TV to Mike Rodriguez, like, dude, pummel inside, man. Like they were getting in the clinch, and the guy who wins the inside position of a clinch wins the striking battle. And how Mike Rodriguez didn't realize that, like, oh, I just got elbow in the face. Oh, I just got elbow in the face again and again. Like, maybe I should try to get inside his hand so he can't do that. Mike Rodriguez isn't good. I'm sorry, he's just not good.
I mean, I know that you're from Boston originally. You still live in the greater Boston area.
No, just for the record, I've never been from Boston.
Oh, okay.
But I am. Like, I'm from the greater Boston area, but I've never lived in Boston. I don't want those true Bostonians to come at me with this, oh, you're Rhode Islander nonsense.
Just does like Somerville Boxing Club ring any bells to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, just because the Full Metal Dojo Twitter account, and Full Metal Dojo is the one that puts on Fight Circus. You know, if you know anything about that, laugh with me. If you don't, DM me, and I'll let you in on the wonder that ensues. But they were just dunking on Rodriguez the whole time because I guess he trained there for a long time, like just like this kind of free, open to the public gym. It's like it'd be like a fighter like training at the YMCA, and just like dunking all over him. They're like, oh, he must have learned this at Somerville Boxing Club.
One thing I will say about one memory I have of Mike Rodriguez, I always I like Mike Rodriguez. He's a nice dude. He's huge. Like how he makes the weight is.
He weighed. I'm sorry to interrupt. He weighed in at 202. How does a guy that big just casually come in 4 pounds under the limit?
I don't know. You go to the local fights and he's there, and you're like, oh, there's Mike Rodriguez. Why? Because I just look out of the crowd and I see a guy 2 feet taller than everybody else. There's Mike Rodriguez. I was at covering a UFC event for Sherdog. It was in Boston. It was the card where Dominic Reyes knocked out Chris Weidman. It was that card, and they had the open workouts and all the fans coming. It was at Peter Welsh's gym, and Mike Rodriguez was waiting in line with the fans. He fights in the UFC. Like, I know he's not like high level, but then a couple people like recognized him and took pictures with him. But he like was standing in the back, like cheering on, like he was a fan. Like, imagine
that's kind of cool.
I know. Just imagine if you went to the Patriots game and I'm not saying a star player, but friggin' Nelson Aguilar is waiting in line to get into the stadium. Like, it's like some player that's injured, so he's not playing that game, but they're waiting and hey, Nelson Aguilar, go sit in section 307. It's just a weird thing. Still does not beat another story. I'm not gonna waste the time, but I have a better story. I'm gonna wait when that guy fights. But we'll say a champion in Bellator. I have a better story that me and Nolan King has ongoing jokes about. And Nchukwu, I thought he looked great moving back up. I don't know if I feel the same way about him moving up that I kind of feel about the Ariana Lipsky performance. Like, was it a good performance or was it who he fought?
I think it was a good performance. Like,
as do I.
Rodriguez, it's not as though Rodriguez brought anything really terrible other than just a failure to use footwork and his jab to keep a shorter guy at bay. But aside from that, I mean, he gave Nchukwu like 3 rounds of good octagon time there, which is kind of all I want right now. I want to see Nchukwu ceiling. Rodriguez took so much artillery from that guy. Like, he took so many just absolute flush kill shots from this man. I liked it. I thought it was a good exercise for Nchukwu. I mean, we'll get to the cut list later, but if this was the last thing that Mike Rodriguez does to enrich our lives, then so be it. It's a good way to go out.
Yeah. Before that, we both thought Raquel Pennington versus Canizai was going to be a terrible fight. It wasn't terrible at all. It was actually pretty entertaining. It was actually pretty good. It was one of the best fights. Do we have the awards yet?
Let me see. Usually,
let's see if I can. Let's see if I always like to put it. We have them.
There's no fight of the night. There are 4 performances of the night. So go ahead.
4 performances. Pick. Let me see. Anthony Smith.
Yes.
Armin Cerukian.
Yes.
Nate Maness.
Yes.
Let's see if I can go 4 for 4.
Of course you can.
Of course I can.
Yeah, it's super obvious.
Okay, so I got 3 of them. Oh, Colton Harris.
Joaquin Buckley.
Really? Like, all right. Okay. I mean, guy gets a first round knockout, doesn't get anything. Unbelievable. Anyways, it is what it is.
Dude.
It's the wrong night.
Well, if I'd said to you, is the last one Harris or Buckley, what would you have said?
The fact that you said super obvious, I would have went with Buckley. Because you kind of gave me a clue, but if you didn't
UFC
tell me.
Is all in behind the guy. And
Yeah. It's the wrong night. There was a lot of finishes. What can you do? But back to it was a great fight between Raquel Pennington and Penny Kenzada. And the big note I wrote is, to me, it was too much of a Raquel Pennington fight. Even though it was super entertaining, Penny Kenzada allowed it to be like she fought, and she did fought well in a battle that Raquel Pennington wins. A lot of clinch fighting, a lot of wrestling, chest to chest, what Raquel Pennington does. And I did okay on the card. Like I think I got 8 wins, which is not terrible, but not my best. This was my best pick because I don't think the picking a fight correctly is impressive. It's picking how it goes. Mm-hmm. And this one I said, like, yeah, she might lose the first round, but she's going to grind on her. She's going to win. She's going to slow her down. She's going to start winning those battles. And that's what Raquel Pennington does.
yes. And I picked the opposite way, and I was dead wrong. And
I don't think
what?
I don't think it was a bad performance from Kenzad.
No, I mean, it was an average Kenzad performance. She is who she is. Like, I haven't seen her, like, really, really, like, elevate and rise to the occasion before, but she beats most of the people she's supposed to beat. But Pennington, I mean, yeah, it was a grindy Pennington win. Like, she clinches even though she's the better boxer, in the same way I think on the preview I said Cristo Thiago shoots for takedowns even when he's winning in the striking department sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that's Pennington. Like she'll just rush into the clinch even when she was doing better in the boxing. But just for the story that she told and the booth told for her just about her struggles with COVID over the last year, to be able to win a 15-minute grueling grindy performance, it's good to have her back.
Yeah.
And like it's good that she is back.
Yeah, but it was just so classic. Like, Kenzad, to me, she was faster in the feet. She's a better athlete. If she just moved and tried making it an outside, and that's a very tough. I understand it's much easier said than done when Raquel Pennington is constantly moving forward, but she had to get out of the clinch like that. Like, my kids play the floor is lava. You can't touch the floor. Like, that's got to be the clinch with Raquel Pennington. Like, you can't ever be in the clinch. Get out of it. Like, it's quicksand. How far is Raquel Pennington from a title shot again? I mean, I know we said that. My mom.
Well, if as long as Nunes is the champ, like, she's one spot behind her mom. If Nunes isn't the champ, she's one win away.
But I mean, are you saying Amanda Nunes is retiring?
It's got to be coming soon.
Yeah, actually, I was saying that as a joke, as a slight to Joanna Pena, like, you're not going to beat Amanda Nunes, but then I really think, I'm like, man, she just had a baby, and so, like, she actually really might, and she's up there in age. She's not young. Raquel Penn is just way better than she gets credited for. She's just a tough out for.
I'm having this conversation in the chat with Austin, Doug, Boss. She has a journeyman record. She's like 12-8 or something, but she's been fighting top 10 fighters since, like, her second fight, like, her entire career. She never got a learning curve. Like,
it's like when people who don't follow the sport or got into the sport. I shouldn't say don't follow, but I'm not one of these purists to say, hey, you need to be watching since Hilo Gracie got his arm broke. Like, no, I'm not one of those guys. Like, if you start watching MMA tomorrow, as long as you want to learn and ask questions, like, cool. But it's like those people who look at radio, like, you see these articles and be like, most top 10 most overrated fighters ever, and they throw, like, Randy Couture in there, and you're like, that record is, they talk about his record. I'm like, yeah, because he fought the best guys for a decade straight. You know, it was a different MMA back. It was a different world. Like, you didn't fight You didn't have 12 wins in the UFC before you got a title shot, so it was like different. You know, Randy's like fourth fight was in for the title. You know, so I feel, and I'm not comparing. Randy Couture's my all-time favorite fighter, but when I was a fan of the sport, not before I was a media member. I'm not saying Raquel Pennington is Randy Couture, but I think you get my point. Like the records, like they say, stats or numbers don't lie. Numbers always lie.
Oh yeah, numbers lie good.
Like where do they come from? That's nonsense. That's Raquel Pennington. She's much better than her record indicates. Anything else you want to say about this fight?
No, I think we've covered it.
Yeah. So I went from my best pick to my absolute worst pick. My worst pick was I picked Brandon Jenkins on short notice to get an upset over Wang Zhu, and I apologize. You know I struggle with these names, but Wang Zhu's the youngest fighter in the UFC.
He is the first fighter born born in 2000 or later to get a knockout in the UFC.
I don't know if I feel about that. Like I don't know if I feel like
that's old.
Yeah, I don't feel like wow, that's awesome. To have especially being from an era that they want to grow and have a young guy, and he had a great performance and really clean, and obviously has so much to grow. Then I'm also like, damn, like I was a fan of MMA for about 5 years before this guy was born, you know. Yeah, like this should be a rule. Like if you were born after the UFC started, you can't fight in the UFC. Anyways. I just thought he looked really composed, straight punches. I like that he made Jenkins get punished every time he threw a stupid spinning punch. Like one of his knockdowns, like he threw a spin, and as soon as he finished the spin, he got blasted in the face. Just really good, and then had some really really great ground and pound.
Yeah, I mean, in the cage, it was his best performance. Like, because I said coming in. I don't believe in him yet, but because he's so young,
sure.
Finally, training in the U.S., probably going to make strides. But everything we talk about here has to be tinged by the fact that this is a late notice opponent, and Wrong is the one who missed weight. Like that ain't cool.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's never a good sign, especially when you're young. Like that shows a trend. Like it becomes harder as you get older.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're Mackenzie Dern.
It
should be easier for you to make weight at 22 than it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, but as soon as you have a baby, somehow you make weight. Yeah.
But the rest of it, I completely agree. Like Wrong took maybe 2 minutes to get a bead on what Jenkins had to offer, because Jenkins came in like super loosey goosey, and while he did some weird stuff, just his straight punches and kicks, like nice snappy low kicks. Mm-hmm. His hands looked fast. Wrong kind of took it in, and then he started making him pay. And just completely controlled the fight from there. Really good performance by Wang Zhu.
Yeah, and Jenkins, I apologize. It was Austin said that he doesn't think he's UFC material. I wasn't sure. Like it's I love doing tape study. Like probably my most passionate thing I do is checking prospects. Not doing the contender series this year because of just life and time. Kind of hurts. It kind of sucks, but. I do enjoy doing that. But one thing I always say, like, it's hard to grasp guys how good they are because of the level of competition. You're not sure.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's that running back who had 200 yards in a game in high school in Rhode Island is not the same as that running back had 200-yard game in the heart of Texas. Like, it's different.
Yep.
Different competition. Kind of the same thing. I wasn't sure about him. I feel the same way as Austin do. Like I didn't see a UFC level fighter, and again, I believe he gets another shot because short notice, and I mean extremely short notice. It was like 2 days ago or something like that.
Yep, 2 days ago.
But a guy that I know is UFC talent, Martel Jackson. I was blown away with his performance against JP Buys, and why I was blown away by it is one thing we said about him is he's faced 2 good wrestlers and he lost. And now he was facing the most decorated wrestler he's in his UFC career. And I thought he looked sensational. I thought he passed every test. He looks like a guy that has learned from mistakes, improving mistakes. He won some scrambles. He made every takedown attempt. Even when he got taken down, he made him work. And then on the feet, he was accurate. He has power. Like, he seems like a guy that's skyrocketing up the. And I know he beat a flyweight moving up and this and that. I'm not putting him in that Armin Cerukian that special yet, but I expect this guy to be the top 15 one day.
I agree, and I think he might get a borderline top 15-ish matchup in his next fight. And the thing about it is, I thought JP Buys looked good as well.
I do.
Which just makes it even more impressive that Jackson handled him so easily.
Yeah, I think he's
like Buys' shot looked fantastic. Like his double leg.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He just his chin is. I don't know if it's his chin or just Montel's power, a little bit of combination of. Like Montel was dropping him with like every clean shot. But the thing that probably got overlooked, because we're gonna remember him easily dropping JP Buys. What I loved is his composure when he was taken down. Like when JP early in the fight was looking for a rear naked choke, how composed he was. Slowly worked his way out of it. That really impressed me.
Yep. I mean, something you always want to see in a young prospect. I mean, he's not that young. He's 29, but inexperienced. That was only his 13th fight. Is poise, composure, and he's got him.
And he needs to stop fighting guys ahead of him. I'm not saying his next fight needs to be a top 15 guy, but I mean saying like if we expanded the rankings down in the UFC, we ranked every single guy on the UFC roster. This is the number one good guy.
I mean, they're probably like 50 bantamweights in the UFC right now.
And you ranked them all the way down.
Yeah.
And say he's 26 right now. Well, he needs to fight the 22nd guy. He needs to fight the 18th guy. Like that's what he needs to do. No more steps down. Like
agreed.
And I sound like a broken record because a girl that I absolutely love, Erin Blanchfield, is. I'm on the Erin Blanchfield bandwagon. I've been on it for a while. I've been on it before it was trendy. I think I'm like, if there's a army of people rushing that she got screwed against Tracy Cortez, that there's like I don't know, group meetings and stuff. I'm the president of the she got screwed against Tracy Cortez. She should be undefeated. Anyways, that's what I'm saying. My whole point is I'm trying to show people how much I love Erin Blanchfield. I'm all about her. I scored a 30-25 in her UFC debut. And I almost went 30-24. I almost gave her 3 10-8 rounds.
I scored it. I mean, in the moment, I scored it 30-26. It probably should have been 30-25.
I almost gave all three of them. I almost gave all three.
The third round was dominant as well, but the first two were absolute 10-8 rounds. Ugh.
Yeah.
I will weigh in on it's still a professional note, but a personal professional note. My first year at Sherdog, a lot of what I did to kind of earn my keep was interview fighters. And, I interviewed a lot of up-and-comers, like including people like, Michael Venom Page and stuff. But I interviewed Sarah Alpar. Now, just about everybody I've spoken to, fighter-wise in a professional capacity, has been nice. But, like, she is probably, like, the nicest. Like, like her nickname absolutely, like, is deserved. And that's why it's so hard to see her take the kind of beatings that she's taken in her last two fights. Her last two fights have just left her, like, beaten, almost unrecognizable. And the thing is, she's a tough girl that I think flyweight's her best division, and I think there are some UFC flyweights she could beat, but this was a bad matchup. It's kind of like I said about the Cerukian versus Giagos matchup. It's not just that Blanchfield is so good and so promising, it's that she's good at the same things that Alpar is, only better. Like, Alpar, like a grindy wrestler, just is not going to have easy sledding against the Erin Blanchfields of the world.
So I loved her output, her cardio, like she didn't slow down, her constant pressure staying on her. The fact that she is still a little raw technically, like she needs to get some polish on her technique, and she has power. You saw what she was landing. She was hurting Alpar with punches on this. She has this like really like. I don't know what it is, but if she lands strikes, it don't look like it should hurt, but girls get that like, wow, like this girl can crack look. And then this is an EBI world champion on the ground. Like she's that good.
And just all Alpar could do on the ground was survive. I
expect her to have one of those soon, one of those early in your UFC career, how did you lose to this person moments. Like I expect that to happen. and then people will start jumping off the bandwagon. I'm not. I'm staying on this girl's bandwagon for. I wrote it down for Armin Cerukian, and this is not on purpose. Is, you forget what you wrote down in your notes for, 3-hour differences between time. I wrote the same exact word. The only difference, instead of saying he is special, I wrote she is special. I'm all in on Erin Blanchfield, and I know I'm living in the moment. I know Sarah Alpar, but this girl's young and she's got a mean streak in her. I love her.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love that you brought up that, she's probably going to. I bet she's going to take a loss at some point in her next 2 or 3 fights. Just an older, craftier fighter. Couldn't you just see like a Gina Mazzani type just catching her with like something sneaky, like even on the ground where like Blanchfield is like so credentialed just by being tough and composed. Just someone like that is just going to sneak up on her, and 2 years later when she's on the cusp of a title shot, it's going to be like, oh man, remember that fight?
Yeah. That's exactly how I see it. Like when like Max Holloway was losing on his way up or stuff like that. Yeah. Let me ask you this, and we're gonna move on. But I don't want to move off Erin Blanchfield. Is she the best female prospect in MMA in the UFC?
I mean, it would depend on how you define prospect, but I'd
say under. We'll say 27 has less than 14 fights, 12 fights, something like that, and less than 7 fights in the UFC. Yeah, you got to check all the boxes.
Yeah, I would say she is.
I mean, it's her, Miranda Maverick.
Well, I mean, and she and Miranda Maverick are in the same division.
Yeah.
I think if they fight right now, Maverick probably pieces her up, but if they fight in a year or two, who knows? Yeah,
Austin throwing out Casey O'Neill. He's throwing easy with the Austin. I had you in the running for listener of the show. I don't know about the by far. You can say Casey O'Neill if you want, but I'm not throwing the by far in. Bass is throwing out there. Kay Hanson. You guys, you're all throwing in. Kay Hanson's another girl. I'm on the Kay Hanson. I'm loving all these people's. I'm not arguing that. I got some beef with Austin with the by far.
By far.
Yeah.
By far. I mean, I'm gonna go against the cut against the grain here a little bit with Hanson. I think Hanson is already close to being what she's gonna be.
Okay.
I think she will probably become like a top 10, top 15 fixture in whatever division she settles into for like a good time to come. But I think she's like, I think she's getting close to probably her ceiling. I think she's going to be, but she might surprise me.
Yeah. So Austin.
McKenna's a great call too.
Yeah. Austin says this is why we got to agree to disagree. Yeah. No, nothing personal. So, just to recap, I think Erin Blanchfield might be the best female prospect. Ben thinks that Kay Hanson is a bum by far, right? That's what I got, right? We're going to cut that. And then before that, Impa Kasanganay, a guy that had a lot of buzz on him, and Colton Harris took his soul. I mean, Colton Harris he's wild. He's very wild. He throws these looping wild. It reminds me a little bit of like Alex Oliveira, like his physique, his long arms. He's so big for the weight class.
That's a good comparison.
His throwing style. But man, this guy, he gets people like they like step back and they're like almost shelled, and then when he lands, man.
That's pretty much all there is to say. I will say that it was nice to see like the taller, rangier guy be so effective at like landing flush shots like in close, like that was nice. Like just the kind of punches that set it off. I thought as they did the replay, just nice job kind of shortening them way up and getting clean hits on them. But yeah, I don't feel too differently about either guy going forward, just because. I have the feeling that if they ran this fight 5 times in a row, like it would be all knockouts.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it would be like 3-2, like one way or the other.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, Alan McDonald, he just had the exact comment I was going to say next. Like, I want to like Colton Harris. Like, he's good. He's got power. But same thing, he's 34. Like, I can't. How excited can I get for him? That's like.
He's
Like,
got
there was oh god, what's his name? He fought in Bellator tonight. He was a 2-time NCAA champion. Opened the card. It was the first prelim of the night. What's his name? Someone help me out. He was a 2-time Division I NCAA wrestling champion, but he was making his youth debut. He was 29 years old, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Everyone knows I love wrestling. Like, I'm the wrestling guy.
Jesse Delgado.
Yes, Jesse Delgado. But he's 29. Like,
Yep.
I can't get that excited. Like, he already missed his prime, or like at least should be in his prime. That's how I feel about Colton
he should
Harris.
have 12 to 15 fights under his belt right now.
Yeah, like Colton Harris, he's 34. He should have 15 fights in the UFC, not 2.
Yeah, but
He's older than Anthony Smith.
All it means is that he has a really compressed window of time to try to do whatever it is he's going to do. And unfortunately for him, he is in the hardest division in the UFC to break into the top 10. Like, I'm not saying welterweight's the best division, but it's the one where you need to win the most fights in a row to even get on the radar of the top 10.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy could be Wang Ju's dad. Yeah, guy. I might be stretching it a little bit, or like if he's at the after party or something, and he runs into Aaron Blanchfield and like gets her phone number, so that we kind of look at him like, come on, dirty old man, like, come on. Not just for the record, I'm not saying he's doing that. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to get. I don't know, hard to get by him. Gustavo Lopez versus Alatang Haley was a draw. Do you agree with it? How was your scorecard?
I actually scored that one 4. Let me look at my own.
I had it 29-27 Lopez.
Yeah, I had a 29-27 Lopez as well. Same thing that we talked about with not the Wrong versus Jenkins fight. Which fight was it? Oh, Arroyo versus Buckley. Only even more so. The first 2 rounds of this were super, super close.
Yeah.
Like, I gave the first round to Lopez and the second one to Alatang.
Yep, that's
But
how I had
one of the other guys who was scoring it for Sherdog, Brian Knapp, scored the rounds exactly opposite, and I wasn't mad at him.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I did think Lopez won this one. I didn't think that Alatang had won the first 2 rounds, but I can't be mad at somebody who did. So I don't love a draw, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Out of every fight in the card, this was the one that I like. This was the least memorable fight, even though it was a draw. To me, neither fighter really stepped on the gas, and actually, Michael Bisping said this. Neither guy went out there to go get the win, and that's why to me, the winner of this fight was the referee. Like, I think it was a great call. I think it was a great call to take a point, because some referees wouldn't do that. They'd slap the hand, keep wanting him. I like that they took a point.
Yeah, I like that he took a point, and I mean, he didn't take a point immediately in the sense that he warned him like a half dozen times.
Yeah,
but it in the first sequence where there was egregious fence grabbing, he just, because otherwise this fight would have hinged on that.
Yeah, and Alatang would have won.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, a lot of referees in a very close, I mean, the referee's watching, he knows what's going on. He knows how close, is. Was it Keith? I can't remember. It was Keith Peterson.
It's Keith Peterson.
Yeah, I love Keith. No nonsense. No nonsense.
Keith Peterson has the funniest voice in MMA. Like, it is so croaky. He's like a cross between like Mickey from the Rocky movies and Popeye the Sailor Man. His voice is fucking hilarious.
No nonsense.
No nonsense. Unless you're Dominic Cruz, then you think he's all nonsense.
Yeah, that is.
Cigars.
That's still one of the funniest lines ever. Smoking cigarettes. Like, you mean weed or something? And the night started by Emily Whitmire and Hannah Goldie. Hannah Goldie won about 3 seconds of the fight.
Yep.
And armbarred Emily Whitmire. Emily Whitmire, who's known for her grappling, took down Hannah Goldie. She was winning on the feet, winning the wrestling, winning the grappling, and then she got armbarred.
That's
something
pretty
to
much.
fairness to Michael Bisping kept calling out the armbar, like that she was setting up armbar, and Emma Whitmire did not see it coming, and she got armbar. I have nothing else to say. Like, hey, cool for Hannah Goldie. Like, she's super ripped.
Congratulations. Like, I mean, you should be able to do like a, who's the more Paul Harris thing, just use those gnarly arms to, isolate and torque a limb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emily Whitmire, third loss by armbar. Obviously, like, Whitmire lost. I think this is her 6th UFC fight, and she has been the opener for 4 of them. That's got to be some kind of record. She has been the curtain jerker 4 out of her 6 UFC fights. I guess that's what the UFC thinks of her. And congratulations, Hannah Goldie. You just proved them right.
There you go. And Hannah Goldie, Alan saying she's a nice person. I have spoken to Hannah Goldie. She is a very nice person. And she's very jacked. We talked and she was trying to give me fitness advice. Like, she's into the fitness. Like, she's all about the fitness. Like, I think while we were talking, she was doing like air squats and stuff. And the chat's also talking about Alatang Haley not speaking English. That's some kind of translation. And yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, they know when they hit in the hand, they know what they're telling them. Plus, they just know that you're not supposed to grab the fence, whether the guy tells you or not. Anyways, there you have it, guys. We have covered all 14 fights of the card. Any updates? Anything we should know about Bellator before we move on to the fun stuff? Anything good going on in Bellator, guys? Only thing that stood out to me so far is Ben Parrish knocked out Christian Edwards.
Yeah, that's about it.
Probably got himself a UFC, like, long-term UFC contract for that. Let's do the fun stuff, man. We got the Bulls and the Bears and the cut list. What do you want to do first?
Probably do the cut list first.
All right, let's do the cut list. So, guys, if you've never watched our show before or listened to our show, the cut list is a way that both me and Ben say we play UFC ball. So we say who should no longer be in the UFC. To be officially on the cut list, you have to be on both of our lists. So if I make a suggestion and Ben disagrees with me, that fighter remains and no longer on our cut list. So I have 3 nominees. How many do you have?
I have, 1, 2.
And while Ben is counting, if you're in the chat, throw out names of anybody.
I've got 3.
Throw out names of anybody. If you're as mean as we are, throw out names of anybody that you think should no longer be fighting in the UFC to make, mind you, put a positive spin on it. Mind you, to create space for other people. Space like someone had to get cut for Erin Blanchfield to make her debut, and someone had to get cut so Brandon Jenkins can make his debut.
Contender Series has signed 15 people in 3 weeks.
That's a good point too. Bass threw out 2 names that are both on my list. So I'll throw out my list. And you said you had 3 names also?
Yes.
Okay. I'll throw out the 2 that Bass gave. Emily Whitmire.
Gone.
She has lost 3 in a row, 3 submission losses. It's always tough. When you lose in the first fight of the night, that's never a good sign.
There you go.
My number 2 that Bass also threw out, Mike Rodriguez.
Mike Rodriguez, he's lost 3 in a row now. Yeah, I mean, he's like 2-5 in the UFC.
And the last one, Bass, he said he forgot and he threw out there, is actually the last one I had, and that's Antonio Arroyo. He's lost 3 in a row now. He's 0-3 in the UFC. Got knocked out. Might have been winning, but he ended up getting knocked out. I would cut Antonio Arroyo. Do we have unanimous sweep?
We have complete unanimity. Yeah, those were the exact 3 I got. Notably absent, Sarah Alpar and JP Bays both get another shot.
Yeah, JP Bays. I mean, that's such a tough matchup. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, both of them were set up opponents for prize prospects. You don't want to punish somebody too badly for that,
So the 3
and more importantly, both of them I think have something to offer their new divisions. Like, they both changed divisions, and I think they might have something to offer.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point too. So according to the 3 judges, you, me, and of course the Great Bass, we have cut those 3 fighters. What is Well, I almost skipped over the Bulls and the Bears. Oh my lord, what am I doing over here? Bulls and the Bears. Let's keep it negative. So, guys, if you're not familiar with the Bulls and the Bears, that is a stock market reference, which means if something's going good, a stock is doing good. It's a bull stock, or the whole market's doing good. It's a bull market. If it's going bad, it's a bear market. So you want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be on the Bears list. We know in that original, a lot of people do stock up, stock out thing, so we get that. I have 3 for the. So we do it 3. We do it like hockey, 3 stars. So the best one is like the biggest loser for the Bears, and the best one in the Bulls is the biggest winner of the night. I will go first if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, my number 3, Tony Gravely. To me, he had a really good performance. He was looking really good. He almost got a knockout, which he's not known for his hands, but we've seen improvement from this. He's on the brink of winning and the brink of moving up the rankings in a really deep division, and then he gets knocked out, and he goes, and that's such a division that you can't take a loss. To me, it was a very bad night. Tony Gravely's stock has fallen. My number 2, Devin Clark. I mean, it's back-to-back fights that he got absolutely. He was in big matchups, main event and co-main event. He got absolutely smoked in back-to-back fights. And then I don't know, we don't have the full injury update, but they were talking about loose teeth or something was wrong with his teeth or jaw.
A picture of it went up on Twitter. His jaw is broken. Like, teeth are out of place.
Oh, jeez.
Like his bottom incisors are like pushed back from where they should be, and there's just blood all over the place because like his like jaw broke somewhere in there.
All right, then you know what? I'm gonna put 4 on my list because you know who then. All right, so I'm gonna leave this one. My number 1 loser, and this is more of a joke. Even though I thought he was commentating was fantastic, when Michael Bisping said we need a translator when talking to Ian Cucciolamo, who speaks English, come on, Mike, you interviewed these guys before the fight, like before the show and stuff. Come on, you gotta know Ian Cucciolamo speaks English. So Mike was my biggest, but I'm gonna add.
Cucciolamo's easier to understand than a lot of British guys in the UFC. Shit.
But so I'm gonna change my biggest bear, and my biggest bear is Devin Clark's dad. And I'll tell you why. You're sitting there and I couldn't imagine watching I have a son. And obviously, I understand it's different. My son's 6. He's not a grown man. But you see your son getting his ass handed to him, getting dropped. And you're screaming, move, get up, move, move, move. And I get. But if my son comes back and he's complaining, he's absolutely getting manhandled, he's complaining about his teeth, he shows me his teeth going in different directions, I'm throwing the towel in.
That's what I was... And it is the fighter's corner's responsibility. You can't expect a fighter who is jacked up on adrenaline and endorphins to make a reasonable decision about that, especially when there's such an emotional and so much of your sense of self-worth embedded in this. Like, everyone wants to be a warrior. Everyone wants to be gutsy. Nobody wants to be the guy who quit. So if somebody with all that going on asks between rounds, should I keep fighting? The only answer should be a towel flying over the side of the cage. Done.
Absolutely not.
You don't even answer the question. You just throw the towel, take your kid fucking home.
We don't do that. Yeah, so I know I'm picking on Devin Clark's dad, but I don't even I know he's yelling and screaming. He's so loud he might have just been in the front. He might have had the option to throw in the towel, but his entire corner. And you know what? The friggin' the referee the doctor too. You go in there and you're examining like they did, and you look at it and teeth are going the other thing. You know, jaws are broken and this and that. Like, that's your job. Like, and we don't do it enough. We really do not do it enough. And it's both me and you talked about. We need more corners to throw in the towel. I understand why they don't do it. It's a thing to do with their money. They get paid based on how well the fighters do, and it's also a sport where there's a lot more knockouts with one punch in MMA than there is boxing. So you could be losing 10 rounds of boxing. It's very unlikely you got to get a knockout, but we see it in MMA. Or you're losing rounds, or you get a submission. Like, I get that, but we should still see a lot more people throwing in towels. You can count on your hand how many times in the UFC in the last 10 years that someone's thrown in the towel.
Yep, and just the fact that one of the people to do it is one of the people that you would least expect, Nick Diaz, for his brother.
Yeah.
Like, dude, if they are willing to do that, nobody else has an excuse.
Yep. I think another one I remember was Nate Marquardt. Was it Trevor Whitman? Right?
It would have been Whitman for Marquardt, yeah.
Yeah, Trevor Whitman threw the towel in. Like, I know they say some fighters say you throw in a towel, I'll never like fight with you. Then don't corner him then.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Basically,
So
Neiman Gracie just won my knockout in Bellator. Thanks for the update. So, anyways, sorry. Who is your Bears?
I'm actually like those would have been my my very same. So I don't really have anything to add to those. Those are the same people I would have picked. Like I wouldn't have done a separate one for his dad, but yeah, like those are the ones. So we can move on to the happy stuff.
Let's move up for the stock going up. The Bulls. Ben? I'll let you go first this time. Who are your 3 Bulls?
Okay, I'm gonna steer clear of the marquee matchups. You know, I'll kind of leave those to you.
Okay.
Number 3 is Zhu Rong. Might have been higher if he'd made weight, but just the fact that he looked so good, and frankly, just so many of the young prospects from China. There's so much of a show me factor with those guys. But he's starting to show us things. That's good. Number 2, Armin Cerukian. If you walk into the cage as a minus 750, minus 800 favorite, you have to do a lot to like make my stock up list. What you do is you take a real solid UFC quality lightweight, a guy who, again, if we extended the rankings, he's probably in that around 20 to 25 range, and just win every second of the fight before finishing him in an absolutely savage manner. Like, good job. And number 1, I'll throw this one to Raquel Pennington. Again, it's a good thing that she's even back. There have been a few high-profile fighters who've had, struggles with COVID. Hers is one of the worst. Like, she was hospitalized twice. She was on ventilators. Just had a bunch of, including, neurological involvement. So for her even to be back is cool. But to be back and win over someone in Penny Kianzad, who I think of her as kind of, like, a little bit of a disappointment, but I think of her as a disappointment overall, like the overall arc of her career. In the cage, she's never really an easy out.
Sure.
At least at bantamweight. And so for Penny to come in and beat a very solid test, yeah, there's still work for her to do in this division.
Yeah, Kansas was on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak. We talked about that. And we talked about she beat good quality girls like Alexa Davis and Sajara Eubanks was in that. I can't remember all the ones, but she had a nice run. Alan McDonald threw out the BJ Penn, George St. Pierre corner stoppage. Yeah, that's obviously one of the most famous ones in their second fight, which adds to the fact that BJ Penn was considered at that time were probably 2 and 3 of the top pound for pound fighters in the world. If anybody could find a stoppage at that time was BJ Penn, and still his corner threw in because he was getting dominated. I'll go with I actually had a huge list this week. I kept writing people down as nominations, so cut it down to just 3. My number 3, Erin Blanchfield. She was a huge favorite. Same thing as you said as Armin Cerukian. You had to have this type of performance. The fact that we were having a discussion, is she the best female prospect they made? That to me shows you that someone's stock rose, even though we expected her to win. My number 2, Anthony Smith. It's back-to-back first round victories, stoppages, 3 fights in a row. He's put himself right back in the mix. He's not getting the first call for a title shot, but 2 or 3 down, if the guys can't make it, he could be that guy fighting for a title. And my number 1, I'm going to sidetrack than what we normally do. I'm going to give it to the UFC crew, the TV crew tonight. And the reason why I'll say that is I thought it was really nice for them to do a thing for Joseph Benavidez, who just retired. I think it was really nice for them to do a thing for Carlos Condit, who just retired. But even more to have a moment for their crew member, the makeup artist, Susie Frinton. It was just really nice. The UFC doesn't make a lot of right choices. We kill them when they don't. But I thought that was really nice. So to me, the bull tonight was the UFC, particularly whoever is in the production, UFC crew who put those packages together. Those were really nice.
Yeah, I assume that there was nobody in the Apex who was not cutting onions by the end of the Susie Freeton segment. Just super, super nice person, and they managed to convey that with just the interviews with her and the people who knew her.
Yeah, and if you
for those who don't know, like now she's been the UFC's or was the UFC's head makap artist forever, like fighters as well as staff, but had been struggling with like cancer for a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it over the years of Twitter. The amount of people that they'd win a fight and they'd mention her name, say, "Hey, keep battling." I was looking at articles this week where fighters went on Twitter saying their thoughts and stuff, and it was just like one after another after another. So. Obviously a terrible situation, and I know I can speak for both me, Ben, and everybody at Sherdog. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers to her family, her friends, the entire UFC, everybody. When I say nice situation, nice for them to do that. Not obviously, the passing her is terrible.
Right.
Anyways, Ben, what was your overall grade for the card?
I'm not going to be Mr. Recency here. Like, it ended with a couple of impressive performances, but still, this is a 14-fight card, and out of 28 fighters, maybe tops, it had 2 top 10 fighters on it by the end of the night. Like, when the stakes are that low, I mean, we got some explosive finishes. There weren't any truly horrible fights. I'm going to give this one just a straight B.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I had it too. The only moment that I said that I was a little bored in the Buckley versus Arroyo, but at least that ended in fun. And the Alatang fight, that was the one I thought was the lowest one, but it ended in a draw, so that kind of also adds some sour taste. I'm glad that Alatang didn't win, though I did give it to Lopez, but I'm glad that somehow I'm glad that the point was taken away. Didn't get Alatang the win. But I feel the same way as you did. Like, this had a ceiling, that a cap to it, that it was not going to get an A unless it was fight of the year candidate thrown in there, and knockout of the year, and submission. Like, we needed all that stuff in there for it to get an A. So I had a B. But here is always the toughest question, Ben. Who's your listener of the night? We had a great, by the way, guys. We had an absolute great comment section. We had comments going the whole night. The best thing is we had disagreements in deep discussions. No one was dicks to each other. No insults. It was really, really great tonight.
No weird Russian or Middle Eastern spammers like posting links that I have to keep killing. Dude, like, seriously, I can't pick one. With like Boz, Austin, and Allen just kind of. Like, it was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters out there, just like putting them up, dunking, spinning stuff on their fingers.
Ben,
I'm just gonna call this one a 3-way.
Ben, you gotta give it to your son, man.
Oh, dude, that kid's getting an earful. Like, he's been gone for like an hour. Like, I know he doesn't respect any kind of bedtime, so I'm letting him have it. He's not even in the discussion.
The first time I was gonna give it,
Adam Duffy. Last.
Some of these guys. Austin was fantastic. Allen, the Bass. These guys. I mean, these guys are always fantastic. It's the way I look at it. I can't give these guys the award. They're always like in the award running. So I would give it to Ben's son just because that's great that Ben's son was here. I think that's awesome. But my man Devo Goes Fishing reached out to me on Instagram, and I don't even use Instagram that often. I'm more of a Twitter guy, or actually I'm more of a Facebook guy. But I'm my problem is I don't do enough social media in the MMA world. But he reached out to me on Instagram. We had a great conversation talking to each other. I said, hey, make sure if you like this the recaps. He was listed when we used to do it on podcasts. I said, check him out on YouTube. He said he would check him out. He showed up. So David Goes Fishing. He was a man of his word, so he is my listener of the night. So there you guys have it. Guys, if you're still watching, if you're still guys, please do us a favor. We don't do it. Hit the like. If don't do any dump down. Hit the like, share, make comments afterwards. That obviously helps our scores and just helps us get more eyeballs to these shows as we have a great time as we continue to grow. Anyways, he's Ben. I'm Keith. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next week. We have a pay-per-view next week, so that'll be even more fun.
A stacked pay-per-view. So,
Ben, say something witty as we leave.
I've got absolutely nothing. I am wrong.